So let's go ahead and get started this morning. I'm checking my video up here so I can actually see everybody. But I want to tell you about our FAMs, our 21 FAMs that are still open. Folks, coming up on your screen right now is a thing to tell you, Alaska is sold out. The Alaska Glacier Cruise is sold out, and so has our Greece FAM. So if you wanted to go on those and waited a bit, you have waited too long. So we're excited about that. I don't know, James, this may be the first time that Alaska FAM has ever sold out. Is that, I mean, not Alaska, I'm sorry, but Greece. So we're really excited about that.
It's been a while for Greece, Tom, yes. I don't ever remember us offering an Alaska FAM trip. Yeah. If we did it decades ago.
Yeah. So those lucky folks who got in on that, we're excited about that. We appreciate everybody who's participated in that and helped out. We've got a couple of other FAMs that are still active and still register for. We have one on the Rhine. Look at that price there, $16.98, ground only. It's October the 27th through November the 4th. I think that you will really enjoy that. It's a beautiful cruise, the scenery there. You get a glimpse of that in the picture. That may even be a fall picture that they're showing right there that you might be able to get some of the same options right there. We still have a few spots on our Norwegian Jade, that special price there of $22.98. It includes a lot of stuff. I think that it's got your gratuities included, Wi-Fi, maybe a drink package, some specialty restaurants, and
and that does include air, Tom.
And air, yeah. I was trying to get there. Couldn't get on my mind. So yeah, you can't hardly buy air for that right now, can you, James? So it's an absolute bargain on that one. So if you want to do that, you should do. Now our Holy Land FAM, that's coming up in January. We're looking forward. We're getting a lot of people who are interested in that. We've got a good number of that already, $16.98. So if you've got some hosts, some friends out there who've never been, you'd like to send them, let them get a chance to go, here's the way to do it. We're still taking reservations. We have our Catholic FAM running just a couple of days later. So folks, please share with friends and other fellow pastors that might be in your neighborhood, your town, your city, there in your small groups. We encourage you to do that. We have our celebration cruise coming up. You remember that last year we sadly had to cancel the celebration cruise because of COVID. So we are going to be sailing this year. It's going to come out of Tampa. So we hope that you will be signing up for that. It's 11 nights. It's a great trip. You can see the itinerary there on the screen. You don't want to miss out on that. So I know that there's been some hesitancy for folks to sign up. Wasn't for certain if it were going to travel or not. And it is. It's going to travel. It's going to sail out of Tampa. So go ahead and get registered for that. We would like to see as many of you as our hosts and our DTMs as possible on that ship. It's a great price. If you look online, it's a lot cheaper than what they're selling it for from the cruise line themselves right now. So do that. Mark made sure that we got out our mailing of our 2022 travel planners. You should have gotten those already. I have a couple right here on my desk I was just looking at just a bit ago. There's a lot of great options in there for 2022. Actually, a couple of new things that you might see. I think there's a Japan cruise in there. So you want to check that out, see what all is in there. So that's just a little bit of what we've got going right now that we're actively recruiting for you as hosts. It's special only to you. This is something the general public doesn't get to see. So we would encourage you to take advantage of that, to get familiar with these places and be able to get out and see some new places and some new things. So James, it's a little bit cooler now than it was the last time we were together on a webinar, sir.
It does. Tom, we've got the morning train going by. So
I heard that.
Yeah. The train whistle is here. Our studio sits, I don't know, 50 yards from train tracks. So we try to soundproof it as best as we could, but can't keep away from that train whistle at times. But Thanks, Tom.
In memory of our trip, James, I have my little handy dandy fan here. So just in case it gets hot.
Yeah. It's no, I don't have a towel anywhere close by here. So I do have a beverage of choice though. Anyway, I appreciate the intro, Tom, and we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about, and an interview coming up here from Europe. So let me start with just saying that there's obviously an uptick in COVID cases because of the Delta variant here in the U.S. So it's certainly easy to fall into that bunker mentality and be scared by the media and what you see. But we have several positive travel updates today. And Tom regularly highlights our familiarization trip offerings to you, the tour hosts. And here are some highlights from our recent Italy familiarization trip that went at the beginning of the month in August. And Tom had promoted that for many months at the beginning of the webinar. So we at least wanted to show you some pictures from that. I see the DeLons there, they're regular attendees on our webinar, and of course, Georgiana. So the photos and the interview we'll see here come from Georgiana Tamafti, who worked here in Florida during 6 months of the pandemic. So, it's some nice gelato. I think that's from the world champion gelato place there in San Gimignano. So, a good time. And I believe we do have a video interview, so we will play that now.
I'm bringing a group to Ammergau in Italy next year, and so I wanted to come and experience it before I brought people here, and it has lived up to everything that I imagined. It's even better. I have felt totally safe. Everywhere we've been, everybody has done a great job in reminding us to keep our masks on, to put hand sanitizer on, make sure it's available for us. All the places I've eaten, I have felt totally safe. So it's been a great experience. Churches we went into, especially some of the smaller and more obscure churches, when I could just sit and let the Spirit speak to me, it was a very powerful moment, just listening to God and feeling God's presence.
Good. I think that was Steve Conger there. I didn't get the name, but it looked like Steve. And if you remember, if you've been a longtime tour host, Steve's parents were our EO representatives at the Chicago airport for many, many years there. So a lot of good experiences in Italy for that group. And just to give you an idea of what we have coming up, we do have upcoming just regular departures in September and October to destinations including Mexico. Of course, we're going on our Oberammergau fam trip here in September. And then Scotland, Greece and Turkey combinations are popular. Large group going to Iceland at the beginning of October. And then I think we have 3 groups to Egypt here this fall. So a lot of things happening to a lot of other destinations besides the Holy Land, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. One of our current travel experiences is our river cruise, a familiarization trip on the Danube, which is in progress right now. And we are joined today by one of our tour hosts, a veteran tour host. I've traveled with Steve many times, but Steve Shepard is joining us today. So hi, Steve. I think you're on the Alma Bella, correct?
Alma Bella. It is a beautiful ship, and we're excited to be here.
Good. And we're using the Alma Bella for several of our Oberammergau river cruise charters next summer. So I'm excited that you're on the ship, and we've got some staff with you there to scout things out. So where are you exactly on the Danube today?
We are actually in Linz today. We've been in Germany the first 2 days, and then overnight we came down the Danube to Linz. So it's our first visit to Austria. We've got a couple more days in Austria before we head to Slovakia and finally Hungary.
Fantastic. I think everyone wants to know, how are current health policies affecting, overall travel and that cruise experience?
Well, we play it safe at home. We wear our masks all the time. We try to stay 6 feet apart. We've been vaccinated, and what we're finding here is the protocols are basically the same. We've been asked several times to show our vaccination card. One of the things that we were a little surprised by, but pleased with, there are only certain kinds of masks that are allowed, basically the K95 masks. We had brought those with us, and the airplane also required that. They've required that on the ship. Once you get off the ship or when you're outside, it's much easier. But we're doing the same protocols that we experience back at home.
Okay, that's interesting. And I think you told me before that really outside you're not wearing a mask as you walked around Linz today, correct?
That's correct. We when we got off the boat and met our tour guide for the day, she told us as long as we were outside, we did not need to wear our masks. She said that she did and kept hers on because that was the local requirement for tour guides. A couple of churches we went in, we just put the masks on. When I went in to order lunch in a restaurant, to put my mask on, and then when they served the food, we were able to take it off. So it's not surprising what we're experiencing, and we feel very safe here.
Good. Now, Kristen Karst, one of the owners of Alma Waterways, has been a regular guest with us on previous webinars. So have you been encouraged by the steps that Alma Waterways has taken to create a healthy cruising environment?
Absolutely. Everywhere you turn, somebody is cleaning something else. We feel like that they're really going the extra steps to keep us safe, keep us healthy, keep everything clean. And that's a good feeling. It's a very good feeling. They're doing a great job. The staff here on the ship are so friendly. You just don't meet anyone that doesn't have a smile, and they're doing a great job.
Good. Now, I know it's your first river cruise on Alma Waterways, Steve, but how are they ensuring their award-winning service in light of these COVID requirements?
Well, I will say that the rooms are absolutely beautiful. The cabins where we're staying, the ship is clean as a whistle. The food is outstanding. We had a wonderful Bavarian dinner last night. We've had just some great experiences. The service is excellent. It's one of those things, you know, you get up, you leave your cabin, you come back, it's cleaned up. They're just doing a great job with everything, and it's very much service oriented.
Now, you mentioned your shore excursion today, and let's ask about that first. Are you able to walk off the ship just on your own and explore on your own, or do you have to take a shore excursion? Absolutely.
They encourage us to always carry our vaccination cards with us, and we take they gave us a key card like on every boat that you're on. You show that, they scan it when you leave, but yes, you can leave the ship. And if we're right here in the towns where we stop, so it's very convenient to go and see the sights. Today we did a morning excursion that was an hour and a half long, and when we finished, our guide said you can go back to the boat with me, and she gave several different options of things that we could do on our own, including shop, eat, tour the palace, the castle that's here in Linz, or one of the largest, actually the largest church in Austria, which was fantastic to go through. So I took a couple of hours just on my own, just exploring the town and experiencing the culture and the people.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like pretty much a normal river cruise experience, which are so popular.
Absolutely.
Now you said you obviously started in Vilshofen, which is in Bavaria, and now you've crossed into Austria. Were there any health protocol changes when you switch countries?
Everything seems to be the same. I would say the only difference, we had a group taking a bus tour today up into the Czech Republic. And the only thing that was different was they were asked to take their passports with them because they were traveling on a bus into a different country. But so far in Germany and Austria, everything seems to be identical and very easy to go from one place to the next.
Now, as you were obviously out and about in town, I mean, the locals, you feel any difference, or everybody's as friendly as they usually are in Austria?
I think, what I'm finding is everybody's excited that tourists are back. Mm-hmm. And I think people all over the world, when Americans come or whoever come, and we haven't seen tourists here for a year and a half. We haven't experienced this for so long. We're actually on the Alma Bella the very first time that they have sailed. since COVID. So even the crew is our waiter at dinner. He said, "This is my first cruise," and he's doing a great job. But it's all new. It's all new again. But they're taking care of us.
Well, that's great. I'm sure, Austria obviously depends a lot on tourism, so I'm really sure they're happy to see you back. You mentioned dinner, so tell us about the dining experience. Is that now, or is there any buffet or?
No buffets, no buffets. The service is excellent. It's, it's like dinner on a large cruise ship. They bring you the menu, they serve you, 26 courses, and it's all wonderful. They take very good care of us, beverage service as well. But they actually, we were assigned a table, and there's a group of us traveling with EO, and we eat all of our meals at the same table. And I think that's one of the protocols that they have sort of put in place. We're not just coming and going wherever we want to and sitting wherever we'd like. We all sit together with the EO group at dinner and all of our meals.
Right. And Christine mentioned that was going to be the plan as they restarted, is you'd be assigned to a table. So it sounds like they're following through on that very well. Anything else you want to tell us about the experience? I have a couple other questions for you, but they're not related to that.
It's just been a great experience. Like I said, this is our first river cruise, and it's interesting. I posted pictures already on Facebook, and I've had people ask, take me on a trip like that. And I said, don't you worry. Those plans are already underway. So I'm looking forward to the excursions. We had a group that went to Salzburg today, and I've been there before. So I'm saving Salzburg next year when I go to Oberammergau.
Yeah. And we're looking at a few pictures here they've put up on the screen. So Steve, tell us, how has travel impacted your ministry? Tell us, probably most of the people on this webinar don't know much about you. So give us a little background and tell us how travel's impacted your ministry, because you've traveled with us a lot of places and
I have actually my first tour to the Holy Land. I was young and single, and it was in 1986. Been traveling. That was the only time I've ever been on a NEO trip where I wasn't a tour host. And absolutely love taking folks with me. One of my greatest joys, and I'm next January scheduled to do my 5th trip to the Holy Land. And I was telling someone today, what I love about it is getting to see it all over again through new pilgrims' eyes and letting them experience it. Somebody asked me, what do you enjoy most about traveling to different places? And I said, traveling to me all over has given me a new interpretation of John 3:16, because it doesn't say, for God so loved me, or God so loved people that look like me or come from the same place that I come from. John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world. And the more you travel, the more you get to experience the world, the more you understand what's meant by that verse. So that's really been one of the biggest things that's impacted my ministry.
Well, that's fantastic. And wow, that's 35 years. I didn't even realize it was that long. So, so I'll put you on the spot here, Steve. Give us one piece of advice you would give to someone who is considering adding travel to their ministry plans.
Don't wait too long. Don't wait too long. I talked to a lot of folks about coming to the Holy Land, and they say, well, I'll wait 5 or 10 years. And I say, well, first of all, the longer you wait, the harder some of those paths that you have to go in the Holy Land become. But the other thing about going to the Holy Land, the earlier you do it, and I tell people in recruiting folks to travel, every time, once you visit the Holy Land, every time you open the Bible, you see scenes in your mind, in your eyes. Studying God's word is never the same again. And so why wait till you're in your 70s or your 80s to go to the Holy Land? Why don't you do it when you're younger and can, and then you have the rest of your life to really reminisce and remember those travels to the Holy Land. And when you open God's word again, you see all those places.
Amen. Steve, I really appreciate you taking some time out this afternoon to join us here. And I know the ship's in, I think you're docked there till like 3 a.m. tonight. So probably some time to go out and see a little bit more of the town. But we really appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Thank you.
Hey, James, before we let Steve go, we had a question here. Steve,
Okay.
people are seated at the table for meals. We have somebody's going here in a few months, and they were just curious. They have 12. How many people are at a table?
The largest tables we've seen in this boat are, I think maybe 8. They have some specialty kind of things you can do, captain's table for a special dinner. And there might be a special room, but generally we've seen a lot of groups of 4 and 6 and a couple, maybe 1 or 2 tables for 8.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Steve, again, thank you very much. And now we will, we have a few more testimony videos from the group that's with you on the ship, and we're going to look at those now.
We had a great night's rest after a long day getting here yesterday, but it was oh so much worth that. We've gotten on the boat. The boat's beautiful. We've had a great opportunity to see sights in the world that we've not seen before. And everybody here is so friendly and so enjoyable to be with. I can't wait for the rest of the trip, because if it keeps getting this much better, it's going to be something that we'll talk about for years to come.
Just wanted to say thank you to EO, thank you to you, Kim, for giving us this opportunity to travel and to be safe and to know we're safe. It's always nice to have someone in your corner when you're traveling all over the world, and we thank you for that. Could not ask for a better ship than the Alma and the people that are the crew, and we're having a fantastic time and looking forward to doing some more things. Thank you.
I'll hand it back off to you.
Yeah, those were great. So looks like everybody's having a good time, James.
It does.
Yeah.
Wish I was there.
Yeah.
And Steve didn't rub it in that it was only like 60 degrees this morning either.
It's so different from last cruise that we were on. So a bit jealous too. I love the Alma. It's a beautiful ship if you've never gotten a chance to be there. So I've got a special guest that can tell us a little bit more about cruising today. Mark Ye is with us today. Mark has just returned from a cruise. So Mark, you've had well, first of all, welcome, Mark.
Hello, everyone.
Mark, you've been on 2 cruises in 3 weeks, right? First, the Allure for that CDC checkout that we were on, and then last week on one of our pastor retreat normally offered cruises. So what can you tell us about how cruising has returned to normal? What's it like out there right now?
Yes, we were on 2 cruises in the Caribbean. One was barely a cruise, a 2-night cruise. So we were on the ship for a day and a half or so. And then last week we were on the ship for a week. We sailed from Nassau, Bahamas. So we had to fly to the Bahamas, get on the ship. We were on 7 nights with a group of pastors, and then we came back home over the weekend. So the cruise experience is very normal on both ships. All the entertainment's open. They had plenty of entertainers, music. They had their headliners on the theater. They were getting their production shows ready to go. I know on the Allure, they're going to have Mamma Mia performing soon. They had their water show getting ready to go. We saw a lot of different music groups on both ships. The food was great. Lots of crew on there to serve you. The biggest differences that you might notice, the first one is, I think, an upgrade. There is the full buffet, but they serve the buffet to you. So I think that's actually very nice. It was a good experience. There weren't long lines. Food was great as usual. And, they have the dining rooms all set up with spacing and social distancing. So you're not sitting on top of each other. There's empty tables in between people, things like that. The other difference with the food, the only negative on the food, I would say, is that the buffet was not open for dinner. And I think that is a function of the number of people that are on the ship. So you could go to the dining room, the main dining room for dinner, and then all the specialty restaurants are open. And then the lounge, some of the lounges still have food, limited food. So those were open, but the buffet was not open for dinner. The nice thing, though, about the dining room in the evening is they relax some of the dress code. So you could go in there in shorts and T-shirt versus sometimes in the past, they were a little more stringent. They wanted collared shirts and things like that. There was still a formal night. So there were people very, very dressed up, suits, ties, long dresses, and there were some people in t-shirts still. So it was a very mixed crowd for the formal nights, but they were still doing that. So the cruise in general was very much normal. The only difference for us, especially flying to Nassau, is just the airport experience and then the immigration. So it would be very helpful to have all your paperwork in hand, ready to go, keeping track of all the protocols for the specific trip and specific destination that you're going to. So really the difference is the airport experience and not really the cruise itself. Check-in for the cruise line was great. We checked in Nassau in the ballrooms of a hotel, but it was the fastest check-in we've probably ever had, even with the extra protocols. We were probably in and out of the hotel in 15 minutes and on our way to the ship. So I very much recommend you get whichever cruise line you're on, get their app and use the app to do all your check-in beforehand and during and so forth. Makes things a lot easier. And using the app is actually a little bit easier than doing it online, even just on a regular computer. So yeah, we enjoyed the trip very much and very normal.
Great, great. Well, you set sail just as the Delta variant really began to make the headlines and stuff. So do you feel like how'd that change the cruise experience or the interactions? How did those go with the guests and the staff while you're on board?
We had a slight change in protocol about 2 days before we got on the ship. And so they did change, Royal Caribbean changed their mask protocol right before we got there. So we did have to wear masks in most indoor situations. So if we were wandering around the promenade or in some of the lounges, we had to wear masks. But then there were other spots that were designated as vaccination only guests, which was kind of odd, I guess, because they had some children that couldn't be vaccinated, but all adults had to be vaccinated because this cruise is out of Nassau. But in the theater, we did not have to wear masks. In certain lounges, we did not have to wear masks, even if you weren't eating or drinking. So there were places you could take your mask off indoors. If you were outside on the pool deck or wandering around the deck on your own, you did not have to wear your mask. The crew did wear masks all the time. So anytime you saw a crew member, they were wearing masks, and they were the I'll say paper medical looking masks. They're all issued by Royal Caribbean. So they're all good masks for them. And, but interaction with them was normal. They were very eager to serve you. Actually, one of our waiter in the dining room was one of the first 6 people in the dining room to come back to the ship. He was the first person from the Philippines to be called back to service for Royal Caribbean. So he was part of the team, but they had to clean up the ship because it had been inactive for a long time. And then they had, it was 1 to 2 months of training that this crew had to go to learn all the protocols, the cleaning protocols, how to deal with guests, how to, have your mask, all that stuff. So quite extensive training that the crew went through before they even started to sail. So that was encouraging. But they were still all very happy, very cheerful, very welcoming to all the guests.
Great. So Mark, while you were in port, the short cruise I was on, we only went to Coco Cay. But you got to go to other ports. Were you able to explore on your own? Did you have to take this cruise line shore excursions? What about that?
So vaccinated guests just had to abide by the local rule for masks and things like that, but you could get off the ship and kind of do your own thing. So in Cozumel, we got off the ship on our own, wandered to little port shops, went out on the street, walked a little bit around. We didn't do any excursions that day, but yeah, everything was normal. In Cozumel, they wanted you to wear masks indoors and if you're around other people. So, in the port, you're pretty much around people all the time. So we just wore the mask all the time. But out on the street, if you weren't near other people, you could take your mask off and walk around. If you're on an excursion, they wanted you to wear them on the buses. Again, if you're outside, you could take them off, but on the buses, wear the masks. The only other port we went to was Freeport, and we did not get off the ship there. We were thinking about it, but where the port docked was not anywhere near town. So unless we wanted to go look at shipping containers, there wasn't anything really to do at that port. So we stayed on the ship that day. Unvaccinated guests, and on this cruise, it was anyone with children that could not be vaccinated. You could only get off if you were on an excursion, and then you had to wear masks. And unvaccinated meant if anyone in your party was unvaccinated, you had to follow the unvaccinated rules. So this particular cruise, there seemed to be a lot of teenagers. So I guess it was a kind of a last vacation time before school started for a lot of people. So that was a little interesting. A lot of times when we cruise in the winter, we don't see too many teens. Sometimes you see little kids, but not a lot of teens. So that was a little different, but it was fine. They were all well behaved. It was just odd seeing that age group on the ship.
So we have a bunch of cruises planned for 2022. So based on your experiences, do you see our guest experiences changing all that much when compared to cruises prior to COVID?
Not really. I'd say it will be a good time to go. We don't know if the ships will continue to limit occupancy. Our ship was at about 25% of capacity. So we had about 1,000 people on a ship that holds 3,900 people. So if they continue that, that's actually an advantage in the short term, that there's just fewer people on the ship. So it's a great experience. There's fewer lines, you're not crowded as much, a little bit less energy, like especially in the theater. Some of the performers had more problem with it than the travelers, but everything else would be great with fewer people. And you definitely get a lot of attention from the crew. So I really don't see a lot of difference going forward. I know we have some cruises in the Greek Isles this fall still, so I think those people will have a great time. Again, just like in the Holy Land, fewer lines, less people in locations. You can get to the spots you want more easily. So I think it is actually a good time to go on a cruise.
Great. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate that. So now while you're on board, you got to interview some of our tour hosts that were there with you. So we got 2 clips. Can you maybe introduce these folks before we show them?
Sure. One is Chad Brooks. He's a pastor in North Louisiana at a United Methodist Church. Chad is a 2nd-generation pastor. So his dad is a Baptist pastor, actually. And so he's done a lot of travel on his own, but he also traveled with his father. So he's talking a little bit about how Christian travel has influenced him personally, as well as how it's influenced the churches he's been around. The second is Pastor Peter Marcis. He's at a Lutheran church in Ohio, and he's also a 2nd-generation pastor. So he's had the same experience of traveling with his father, but also on his own. So he's talking about the uniqueness of having 2 of his Holy Land trips with EO canceled, but actually still had a benefit to his church, even though he hasn't traveled yet. So hope you enjoy these clips.
I'm Reverend Chad Brooks from Founder United Methodist Church in Monroe, Louisiana. Christian travel has been something that's been important to me for a really long time. A couple of different things. Number one, I think Christian travel is important for us, just broaden our horizons, our understanding of the world. Then also there's fantastic ways we can go to places like the Holy Land, other places, and other parts of the world where we get to see things and get to understand the power of geography, the power of people and culture, those sorts of things. Christian travel is also extremely important because of the relationships that we build inside of it. I think that there's been many of the formative times in my life have happened when I was traveling with other followers of Jesus to places to either serve others or just to enjoy being together. And so I encourage you to think about Christian travel in your life and in your ministry.
A number of the blessings working with educational opportunities, planning this trip with my congregation has been that once we put things in place, there was a buzz among the congregational members. It created a spiritual hunger for studying different things in the Bible with places that we were going and things that we were going to be doing. And so it created a great desire to dig a little bit deeper into these locations that would be visited, taking this trip of a lifetime, really, to see some of these sites and walk some of the same footsteps where Jesus and his disciples walked. And then likewise, there was a certain camaraderie and connectedness with members who did not know each other before, and even after the fact, we see a connectedness. And so the blessings of planning a trip, going to the Holy Land, making this visit is something that ties people together and serves as a great bonding agent for the congregation.
Wow, thanks, Mark. Those are a couple of great interviews. We appreciate you doing that. Glad you had a great trip. You know, folks, we've had a really great response to our FAMs. We've gotten to do a lot of different FAMs. We've been to some new places like Iceland and Dubai. We've deepened some experiences to places like Turkey and Italy and Greece. I mean, it's been really amazing. So we've been trying to think about what's next as we head into 2022. So first teaser here, okay? There'll be another one coming up in a bit. First teaser. We're looking at some different FAMs for 2022. We're going to decide on a lot of these next week when we're back together with the sales team, but maybe something like Croatia. I don't know if any of you ever had Croatia on your list. Celtic Ireland and Scotland. We've got several different hiking experiences that we're working with. Possibly that we've got some folks who've been working really hard to come up with some really cool hiking for those of you who love hiking. I'm not going on that FAM probably, by the way. So just laying it out there right now, James. So I'll be assigned that one. I can see it coming. A Wesley FAM. You know, we get a lot of people who ask about Wesley. We got seen a renewed interest in our Wesley Heritage Tour there, both in the U.S. and in Ireland and in England. So we're thinking about that. Poland. We talked a little bit about Poland. And so one that'll be a special interest to Steve that was on just a bit ago. We're thinking about a choir leaders FAM. We have a lot of people who say, my choir leader, my choir like to do something. And so we're looking into those just to see. So those are just a few things that you might see popping up over the next couple of months as opportunities for FAMs in 2022. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of those. So teaser number one is kind of there. FAMs is teaser number one. But we got some serious work that we got to get down to. So we Jamie here to talk a little bit about that. We've worked hard, Jamie, trying to make our tour host group experience more and more beneficial for them and easier. So you and your team have been working on our host landing page. So I think you're going to share a little bit, update us on that, right?
I am, Tom. So I'm actually going to share my screen right now. I can figure out where it is. Okay, so we have been working on the tour host landing page or the group leaders page and rolling out kind of a new design for that. And so if you can see on the screen, when you come to the EO website in the top little bar up here, if you'll click on the group leaders place right here, it's going to take you to the login page. And so you'll need your tour host ID number and your password. This part of it will look familiar. When you log in, it's going to look a little bit different. The layout's a little bit different. Hopefully it's easier to navigate. And we've been able to include some things that have not been there in the past. So when you come into the site, one of the things that we're adding in here is our tour host advisors. We've had a lot of changes, like everything else at EO over the last 17 months now. We've had a lot of changes related to this department and people who were serving. But you can see the pictures of the tour host advisors. We've got to get Kim's picture in. We're also going to be adding links to their pictures so that you can find their contact information, whether it's their email addresses or other things like telephone numbers, extension numbers in the office there in Lakeland. So hopefully that will be helpful for our tour host. As you scroll down the page, we've actually changed the way the look is going to be on here. So current tours and reports section. This is one of the things that I'm most happy about is that we've now added an ability to go to my account. without having to log into a new website. So if you click on the My Account page, it's actually going to take you to my account. And so I can actually look, I'm going to be on the Oberammergau fam here in a couple of weeks. I'm on the Celebration Cruise. I can look and find out my information on there. Now, a lot of our spaces on here, like the My Account, are going to take you to a separate web page. And at that place, you're just going to need to go back to that home spot that you saw in there where you came on. There are other things that you're going to see on here, and I'll pick one out, for example. So let's look at, let's go down here to promoting your trip and the host resources. So one of the things that we've added is we've added the right-hand navigation column in here that will take you back to a lot of these places so that you don't have to go back to the home page. You don't have to keep hitting the back arrow. So if I'm looking at the hosting and FAQ and I want to know about EO Explorer perks for guests, I can click on it in the navigation bar right here. Again, just a lot easier to navigate. Hopefully you can find things more easily, particularly up in the tours and reports. You can see what's in your tour host credit bank. You can look at the reports for your passengers, people that you've actually shared the EO travel ministry with and what's done with that. If you've got a project going, you see your summary and detailed views that are in there. We've added things like the EO leisure department up here with the perks. They're very much related. We've also added buttons in here that will take you to EO missions, to the EOX small group, which is what we introduced this past year. Then a number of the other resources that you'll see. Travel updates, healthy standards, travel deals, the trip protection programs. So again, it's a place for our tour hosts to go and to jump in and to look at it and hopefully to navigate around. I think it's going to be easier to find things. And again, the thing that I love the most about it, other than it looks cleaner to me, is I don't have to go to another website to get to my account. I can jump into it right there. So very excited to be able to share this with our tour host.
Good. Thanks, Jamie. It's great seeing you today. And let's see, I think you're heading to Cyprus soon with our familiarization trip on the Jewel of the Seas, correct?
End of next week, we actually cruise out of Limassol, Cyprus, in the evening of Saturday, the 28th of August, and we'll be on ship doing a Greek Isles tour and through the 4th of September.
Fantastic. And I think we're catching up to you in our next webinar, and you'll be in Athens, I believe, that day, correct?
That's correct.
So we're gonna get you on Mars Hill or someplace with an interesting background.
We'll see what we can do about that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, turning our attention to Israel, we have some good news and we have some challenging news. So first, the good news. One of our regular webinar viewers, and I saw Claudia and Don on here earlier. Claudia Erickson was just in the Holy Land. Both Claudia and Don were just in the Holy Land with us with a small group. And they shared some photos with us here. And I see Claudia there in the picture center right. And there's Don. So the trip went very well. They just came back, I think the end of last week. So they were there in August. And currently we have one group still in the country right now and enjoying their experience there. So moving on to the challenging news, Israel has imposed a mandatory 7-day quarantine on most travelers entering the country, including anyone arriving from the United States. So our group there now arrived, actually had a special exception. They arrived after this went into effect, but they did not have to abide by the 7-day quarantine. But going forward, for the foreseeable, no one knows, 3-4 weeks, there will be this mandatory quarantine. There are manifold reasons for this new action. Like many other countries in the world, Israel is seeing a wave of Delta cases, much less than here in the United States. But nonetheless, the new government is very concerned, and this is their first real challenge as a coalition government. So they are taking maximum steps by administering now over 1 million third shots, restricting large gatherings, and reinstituting the green passport beyond this mandatory quarantine. The largest concern here are Israelis bringing more virus back into the country, particularly from unvaccinated children. That's why Mark was just mentioning that on Royal Caribbean. The children who are unvaccinated can't be vaccinated or have brought in a lot of this Delta cases. So, and this is the traditional August vacation season for Israelis. So, just concerned about the Israelis coming back from places that have a lot of the Delta variant and bringing them back. So, to get it under control, thus we have the quarantine requirement. Positively, like much of the world that had very high vaccination percentages, and we know Israel's around 60% vaccinated, mortality has been much less than in previous waves. And their serious cases, even today, have only been 50% of their maximum peak, which was toward the end of last year. So they're doing well with it. As I said, we do not know how long the quarantine period, this 7-day requirement, will last. It will be driven by our numbers here in the United States and could last through the Jewish holidays in September. The positive tourism news in all this is that everyone agrees that the tourist groups that had come in, and we've had 8 through the pilot program, were successful and did not contribute to the Delta variant issue. So I believe that the pilot program rules will be resurrected after the Israel government can declare some victories in this process. We've suspended ticketing here so as to avoid putting any of our travelers into serious penalties going forward. For those traveling in the fourth quarter, we'll probably have to have some patience here as we see how things go. And we progress through this wave. And it's been a wave in Britain and in India and various cases. So you get to the top and it drops off quickly. Then I think we'll see that restart to tourism once the government can I think hang their hats on some positive achievements there. Particularly getting the third shot out to so many so quickly. On that note, we have another special guest from Linz, Austria, on the Alma, and it's one of our Israel guides, one of our most beloved Israel guides, and that's Mike Abu Libdi is there with his wife. So surprise, surprise to see you in Linz, Austria, Mike.
Hi, James. Hi, everyone. Hello, friends.
So, Mike, our veteran guests and hosts are accustomed to seeing you guide in Israel. How is it you're doing a river cruise with, there on the Danube and not guiding?
Actually, I just finished serving Claudia and Don Erickson guests in the Holy Land a few days ago. And we had my wife anniversary and me. So we decided, and also Sahar's birthday. So we decided actually to do something new. And after discussing it with Sahar, we decided to do this river cruise, which is, great experience so far. And it fits also with the presence of an EO group also here on the cruise with some of our staff from the office. So it's a great journey, great experience. And we are in Austria right now. And so far it was really great, pleasant experience.
Good. So you would do another river cruise so far based on what you've experienced there?
Yes, of course, for sure.
Okay. So talking about Israel here, did you have any issues getting out of Israel to get to Munich when the cruise started?
So the moment we registered for the Alma Water River cruise, with of course Kim from the office helping us with all the logistics, we prepared all our documents. We did the PCR before traveling, and we had our app for the vaccination. Actually, the same day I wanted to leave, they gave us a green light for the third shot for vaccination, the booster. So I didn't do it. So I'll do it when I go back to Israel. From 50 and above, they started to give that. So we flew actually from Tel Aviv to Paris in France, and it was really so no complications at all. At the airport in Paris, they just looked at our passport. They asked me if we have PCR. I showed them the negative results of the PCR for me and my wife, and they said welcome. And we stayed few hours there or the night overnight, and then we continued to Munich the next day. And it was fully, actually easily, without any complications again, arriving to Munich. And then we took the train in Munich to Vilshofen, if I'm pronouncing it right, German words. And we arrived to the ship. At the entrance to the ship, actually, they checked our vaccination app and then PCR letters, and we access to the ship. And here we are. This is the fourth day, actually, and it's wonderful and it's safe, healthy, as Steve Shepard mentioned before. The ship staff and management, they took all the measurements for the safety of the guests here. So we are really enjoying it fully here. So it was easy journey traveling, even for us, from Israel to France to Munich and here. And also at the end, we'll stay in Hungary, in Budapest. And then from Budapest, we'll travel back to Tel Aviv. So no complications at all.
Good, good. Mike, what are you mentioned you just finished guiding Don and Claudia there. What are the current conditions in Israel and in Palestine right now?
Yes, as you mentioned, James, we had several EO groups and other groups coming to the Holy Land last 2 months as in a pilot program. And we had no issues with those groups, as Israel put some criteria and tests and serology tests for them to come in. We had issues actually with locals, Israeli locals, traveling abroad and bringing back with them the Delta variant. So because of that, and because of the increasing of the numbers of cases and the speed way the virus or the Delta variant spread around in Israel, so they decided to put some more restrictions, actually, considering many countries under red zone and telling locals not to travel abroad to different locations as the traffic lights going on. The cases that we have actually yesterday in Israel, the numbers are up to 8,000 cases daily. But it goes up and down. But here's the good news. Only 800 from all the thousands got the Delta variant are hospitalized, and few only cases are in ICU. That's in Israel. In Palestinian territories, West Bank, actually, yesterday I checked with my friend Chris Nissan, and he gave me the number that it's almost around 1,700 cases, and no even cases mentioned in ICUs there. What Israel is doing right now is actually trying to control the movement, the travel for the locals, not allowing many locals to travel abroad, but to enjoy within Israel, as it is still summer vacation before August 20th when school starts back. And because we have the Jewish Hebrew New Year in September, so Israel would like to keep those restrictions for part of September, but then having all the good results mid of September to ease all the restrictions and the fall actually season, especially for tourism, to be saved from mid of September and after. So probably we will have maybe, I guess, a few more pilot groups, but then it will ease down without any restrictions for groups to come to Israel and tour normally. Other than that, James, as you know, the last 2 months where we had our groups, even last week, in Bethlehem, in Jerusalem, in Jericho, in Galilee, we toured normally everywhere. We had no restrictions at all, museums everywhere, restaurants. When Israel only put some of the restrictions to wear masks in closed places, that was the only exception. Other than that, it was free touring everywhere, and our guests enjoyed Israel and the Holy Land, even in West Bank, Bethlehem, and Jericho, normally as before. And everybody were welcoming, and it was successful for all our groups last 2 months.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you explaining some of the politics there, and I really think this is a political issue. Obviously the government wants to do the best for the local citizens, but as we can see in Europe where you are now, tourism is going on. and things are normal. And it was normal in Israel. So I just don't want people to think that something went wrong with tourism there. They're just really afraid of they're afraid of people bringing things back from other countries, more than the tourism wasn't going well. So I appreciate you explaining that. Tell us about, you're always at the cutting edge of some of our initiatives. Tell us some of the new initiatives that we're working on there in the Holy Land.
You mean in new stuff that we have for our guests, or what do you mean, James?
New staff. I mean, I think you're working on something with the buses.
Yes, that's right, James. First of all, we would like actually to welcome the new season, our EO groups and guests with the new style buses. Not all our buses, but few of our buses will be covered all around the buses with the beautiful pictures from images from the Holy Land, the Garden Tomb, the Garden Gethsemane, Mount of Olives, Mount of Beatitudes, actually image from a distance. We will cover our buses with such printed images so that you will see, and that's to our leaders and guests actually who will join us in the fall or next year. You will be in one of those buses actually, and you will be amazed with the beautiful design that we are working on those buses to prepare for your guests when you come and visit soon the Holy Land, friends. So that's something new we are working on. On the other side also, as I was talking with Steve Shepard, our friend here, that recently there are actually new discoveries around Jerusalem, either ancient walls or gates or ancient roads or paths, the pilgrimage way. So digs are still going on around Jerusalem, and there will be something new every few months. So for those actually even we're being in the Holy Land, either leaders or guests, pilgrims, you will come back and you will find something new and you will be excited more and more from the Holy Land. It won't be boring or it won't be the same as always. Always you will find something new to visit and to see, with all the differences in the programs that we present to you actually with EO. So it won't be the same, just come and join us, and either directly to have a customized tour or checking with your guide in the Holy Land. Really, there are plenty of excited and new discoveries to share with you all, friends.
Mike, I appreciate you taking your time today and joining us and giving us a little sense of how things are on the Holy Land. One question which I've been thinking, I haven't asked anyone, on this last group, did you have to wear masks on the bus, or there are no requirements still?
No requirements, actually. As I told Claudia and Don Erickson's, our friends, that if it was a stranger group that they were not under positive vaccination, serology test, and negative PCR, then I will wear the mask, me and the driver on the bus. But they were without mask, we were without mask, as we were all under vaccinations and PCR regulations, so it was okay. At one time, at one of the checkpoints, actually getting out of Bethlehem, a soldier wanted to come to check on the bus that everybody is one group and no other strangers on the bus. So I asked the soldier not to come on the bus for a minute, and then I asked the group and myself and the driver, we put our masks on, and then when he left the bus, we took it off. So that's all. So everything comfortable, everything normal. And even for me as a tour guide in the Holy Land, it feels more comfortable to speak without a mask on the bus and on sites. At the Israeli Museum, where we were in the building, we had to wear the mask. I advised our guests to wear the mask, but when we went outside, we were without the mask, so it was normal as before. James, just one thing I want to mention about the river cruise that we are on. Everything positive, as Steve mentioned, and it's lovely. The only negative thing that before I started to come to here, I decided to start diet to lose weight. And here's the problem. Every day they have a great food and I'm losing it. So I have to change the date where I'll start my diet, and probably it will be after this trip will finish.
Yeah. Well, I was salivating over the Bavarian dinner the other night. I heard Steve throw that one in. I mean, that's always a highlight on the German
Yes.
part of those river cruises. Whew. So yeah, I was thinking back to the suckling pig and all the other specialties they have there on Bavarian night.
So Sahar told me, forget about diet, Mike. We are on vacation. Let's enjoy it. That's all.
Well, yeah, and it's really fantastic food there. So, Mike, again, thank you, and I hope you enjoy your anniversary. Zara enjoys her birthday, and
Thank you, James.
it's a great experience for you. As Mike indicated, and I think as we're seeing this cruise, Germany reinstituted a vaccine requirement for Americans coming just ahead of this cruise starting. So our team here alerted everyone. But I think as we see the pendulum goes back and forth on the virus, that being vaccinated is really, really important, not only for your health, but also for travel. And those requirements can change. So I think it's just prudent to be vaccinated across some multiple different reasons. So, Tom, I'll send it back to you. Looks like everything's going well on the Danube.
Yeah, it looks like that. So thanks, Mike. We appreciate that update. And seems like Saliba has gotten to you with the let's lose weight kind of thing too. So I know that's one of the things he was teasing with me about when we were in the Holy Land together a few weeks ago. James, I'm not going to give away any secrets, I don't think, but I am going to hint at a few. I'm not going to ask you how old you were when EO was started by your dad, because that would might tell about your age. I don't know how conscious you are about that, but it's hard to believe that EO is getting ready to turn 50. I mean, can you believe that? That's almost unbelievable.
Yeah, that is unbelievable since I've been here for the entire time. It doesn't seem like that long. So, yeah, remember passion plays of years gone by for sure.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, this is a huge deal. I mean, I'm sure that your dad, Dr. Ridgway, could see this day. I mean, but I don't know how many other people could. But what a vision and powerful ministry that it has been and continues to be. So I promised you another teaser before that we let you go today. So since 50 is such a big deal, I mean, ask my wife, it's a big deal. We're going to have a party. I mean, we're going to have a party. We're planning on a year-long party starting in 2023. So we want you to start making plans now. So get out your pencils, your papers, your iPads, your recorders and stuff. We're going to have some special trips, some special events, and we're going to make some memories worldwide. I mean, how cool is that? So I want to give you just a glimpse of some things that we're considering. The team is working really, really hard, but we're going to have a Jubilee celebration. So we are excited about that. So as a part of that Jubilee, we're going to have 5 special trips, maybe 5 continents, maybe some places we've never been before, maybe some places where our roots are sunk really, really deep, and maybe the place where it all began. I mean, who knows what's going to end up happening there, but the team is working really hard. They've been meeting. They're going to report out to us here at the end of the month about all the recommendations. But a little birdie, I have an inside line on some things since that I'm the owner of the team. So a little birdie told me that we're probably going to launch with a special Alaska cruise, price like you just won't believe. So if you start thinking about that, look about that. Armenia 2023 maybe out there. A whole new hiking concept. That's the one that some folks are working on. I'm not for sure why. No, I'm just teasing. Several different ones: Pilgrim's Way in England, Luther's Way in Germany, the Way of Forgiveness in Italy, the Pilgrim Walk in Ireland, Jesus Trail in the Holy Land, the Camino in Spain. I mean, wow, just some really, really cool things in 2023. A new Wesley in America might be coming. I've heard some other places drop that I'm just going to save those. I want to wait as we begin to roll out. So that means in order to hear that, you're going to have to tune back in, okay? August 31st, 10 a.m. August 31st, 10 a.m. Jamie will be in Athens. We'll hear from Jamie, and he'll be updating us from there. Then we'll do some general updates on the latest from Israel, maybe some more hints for our Jubilee celebration and what's coming. And we might even announce a couple of 2022 FAMs then. Then on September the 16th at 11 a.m., we're going to hit Oberammergau. We'll do that full bore. We'll have had some people who have just been there. So we're going to be able to talk a lot more about that and get excited. It's coming, folks. In fact, next year at this time, we'll almost be at the end of Oberammergau season, if you can believe that. So it's really exciting. Can't wait to get over there and be a part of the Passion Play. I have a greater appreciation for that now. So want to thank everyone. We really want to thank Mike and Steve and Kim and Ashley, all of their.
Tom, we need to let's get Kim on, because we never have a.
We didn't get to tour the room, did we? That's right.
Yeah, we didn't show the room, but we need to get Kim. We never get to see Kim on a webinar. So
okay, I forgot we were going to do the impromptu, and I didn't impromptu, did I?
Yeah, no. Let's. Kim's always it was embarrassed me on her webinar, so we'll stick
don't need
around.
no, James. We don't need to get me on film.
So I mean, Ashley can come around too, but Kim, this is. Let's just say you've worked in the cruise department for a while now, so this is the first time on a river cruise. What are your thoughts?
I love it so far. I've only been on Caribbean cruises, so this is a lot more relaxed than a Caribbean cruise. The staff is much more attentive. I don't know how it was before, but they do everything for you. You don't get anything for yourself. They're always there. If you need coffee, whatever you need, they're there getting it for you. And everything is clean. Everything is organized, even with the COVID protocols. I think it's 5-star for sure.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm just so happy you're having this experience, Kim, because she's been wanting to go. You had the family, you had all your family going on a river cruise, and then that got
actually my family did this cruise. My mother and my sister did the Romantic Danube, so they were excited for me to come.
Fantastic. And I see Ashley's there. We saw her on the Allure a couple weeks ago. So Ashley just travels apparently, and you can come back to the office occasionally, Ashley. But Ashley's our chief document person. So you made it through with all the new requirements, the vaccine, everything, no problem.
Everything was smooth. Yeah. We only had to present at the airport like a health form and proof of vaccination. So our CDC card was perfectly sufficient for that. And then when I got on board the ship, they just asked again to see the CDC card. And then we filled out like a health form with Alma in advance online. And that was required. Alma did call Kim and hunt people down who didn't fill it out. So that is required.
Yeah, you can't board without filling out that questionnaire beforehand. They want you to do it at least 7 days before, if possible.
But I mean, it's honestly fairly easy. I had no complaints. It went smoothly. I had no issues. So.
And they take your temperature before you get on the ship. And that's pretty much it. It was a fairly easy process.
Good. And Ashley, you just arrived in Munich this morning. So you did like how many trains to get to Linz, Austria?
So yes, I arrived this morning to the airport. I took a train from the airport to the main Munich station. Then I took another train from the main Munich station here to Austria. So I was on trains for about 3 hours today. And then I should say probably closer to 4 hours today. Then I got here and I was able to board the ship, past the start of the cruise. So I was able to come on late, and it was because Alma's known for their flexibility, and they were still able to honor that request. So that was really nice.
Good. So you did a lot of independent traveling in Europe.
Yes. And I had no issues again. And I went from Germany to Austria on a train, and you don't have to present any documentation or anything like that. since it's kind of inside Europe. Once you're in, I think it's you don't really have to worry about that.
Fantastic. Well, I hijacked Tom there in the closing, but at least wanted to see the staff. So I'm glad you all are having a good experience.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, well, thank you guys. Thanks for hijacking me, James, because I type it into my notes. So you know how that goes. I'm an old man. I forget if I don't type it into my notes. So I'm older than that 50. I'm older than Neo. Let me put it that way. So thanks, Ashley, Kim. We appreciate you guys. So I know y'all were trying to get everything going today and setting things up there. And Mike and Steve for being there with you. We really appreciate that. Mark, appreciate you being on here. Jamie, your information and stuff there. So really appreciate it. Folks, thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you again on August 31st. Continue to lift everyone up in prayer. And we hope to